Good morning, YouTube. My name is Jack Shabir. I am a native born New Yorker. I'm 33 years old. And the reason for this video, and hopefully other videos to come, is that in my own personal life, I have gone through quite a roller coaster of challenges and obstacles and experiences that have molded me and given me insight on how to deal, navigate, and work through uh, the day to day struggles that we all go through. And in my own network, with people that I mentor and with people who are very close to me, my insight, my advice, my ability to help them navigate through their problems has really given them the strength and the confidence to continue that process. And they've all told me, either one way or another, that I should share this information with the rest of the world. Um, and I figured at a certain point they were right. And this is my first step to do that. Um, Now, mind you, I'm not usually the one to do stuff like this. This is going to be quite new to me. So please be gentle with your criticism. I will try to improve with the feedback that I get and the suggestions that are provided to me. But as of now, I'm going to try to provide one video per week, and it's going to touch on multiple topics that I feel I at least have the humble experience of dealing with or have dealt with, and I will share uh, something personal and how I was able to navigate through that situation, or if I didn't navigate it through successfully, what was I able to learn from what I did wrong, and how to prepare any one of you who are listening to this and need a bit of guidance, a bit of a shining light into your darkness or your troubles on what you shouldn't do or should do uh, to get through things. Um, I would definitely love to have any suggestions, any feedback, any commentary that will help me improve or talk about something that maybe I didn't even think about talking, um, from any one of you. And I hope that whatever I have to say and however I can position it, I really do hope it helps. And I'd love to know if it does, or if it doesn't. Please, definitely, if you're listening to this and if you're watching this, your feedback is extremely important to me. So please do not be shy. Definitely tell me what you think. Uh, so without further ado, I'd like to talk about today something that I feel each one of us will definitely go through, especially when you reach a certain age. For example, I'm 33, and if you get to this point or any other time in your life, you will have experienced this one way or another. It could be a friend, it could be a loved one, it could be a family member, it could be a pet, it could be a coworker, it could be anyone that you know or care about. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the loss of a loved one or a friend. Uh, it's one of those pivotal moments in your life where it's very hard to prepare for. Whether you know it's going to happen or it completely, you know, comes out of nowhere, there's no actual way to prepare for it. Um, but there are ways to process it. There are ways to understand the feelings that are going to come up in you and in your environment, and how those are going to impact you, and how to be able to navigate through that. um, and how to also allow yourself to feel things. Um, because we live in a society where only now are you starting to see people talk about being vulnerable and how important it is to be vulnerable and how important it is to allow yourself to feel these emotions. But when I was growing up in the 90s, that really wasn't part of the commentary. The commentary was very different at that point, and I'm sure people who are older than me will relate. Um, but the reason why I'm coming out with such a very strong topic is because it happened to me this year. I lost someone who was extremely dear to me. I lost my uncle earlier this year in February, and it was definitely a surprise because more or less my uncle's health was it was going it was there. He was he was a fighter. He definitely indulged in the rich foods, definitely indulged in stressing, but that's everyone. We all have our stresses. We all have our cheat days, whether or not they're 1 day a week or 7 days a week. um, we all have our we all have our moments, but it definitely sideswiped me. Um, and just to give you some context, I woke up. I think it was February 3rd, 2019, and I woke up to my sister who called me from overseas, and she told me that my uncle um, was not responsive, that he had a good dinner, he had all his medications and everything. And mind you, my uncle was a diabetic and had high blood pressure and cholesterol. So just painting the context there. But she called me and said that everything was fine the night before, had his food, was extremely happy, and told everyone that he was going to go to bed and went to bed. No disturbances, no issues. And then towards the middle of the night, my aunt decided to, just check on him, see if everything was okay. And the way she saw him lay, or the way she saw him sleep, was a bit concerning to her. So she tried to wake him up, and he wasn't responsive. And it was at that moment that my aunt knew that something was wrong. So she called the ambulance, and my sister's telling me all this, right? But she's incoherent. She's freaking out, which rightly so, anyone would be. And as she's telling me this information, strangely enough, there's two things that happen, and I've spoken about this with some of my friends in my network and some of the people in my environment, and they've also had these two divergent paths, right? You can either be just as panic stricken and freaking out and going crazy and losing your stuff, or I like to call it where you get into this action minded mindset where your brain suddenly sort of clicks and you start to ask for facts. You start to ask for the entire scenario so you could paint an image in your head to understand better what's happening. And instead of my brain going down the panic stricken route, it actually went down this action minded route where I had to interrupt my sister and I said, I need to know exactly what happened. I need to know everything. Uh, and the reason why I did that is that it allowed me to process what was happening. It allowed me to understand better how to deal with the situation because it's so easy in life to allow a situation, an experience, especially when something happens abruptly, uh, to completely shock you and to cause you to be immobile with what you should do. And I wasn't going to let that happen in this situation because for me, it was important to remain as calm as possible. And I think that that's the most important thing to take from this is that whatever happens in life, however it happens, resorting to allowing your emotions to dictate your reaction is always going to set you back. And in in this particular situation, I couldn't allow that. So I had to learn the facts. I had to understand this. And then when she told me that they called the ambulance, they were performing CPR, they were doing all of that, and he didn't respond. There was no response, and they were doing this for 26 minutes. They finally uh, said to the family that he's passed away. They've made that announcement, and it was at my aunt's home. And because my uncle was such a titan in the family, it was devastating across the board. Uh, None of my family members knew how to react, including my mother, who this was her younger brother, and my sister, who was very close to my uncle as well. And in this moment, I could have behaved and acted, and rightly so, uh, fell into that deep, dark hole that allows tragedy and pain and loss to consume you. But for me, it was a conscious decision that I had to absorb it, absorb the pain, absorb the loss, absorb the tragedy, and walk myself through it. And it's a funny way to explain it, right? But bear with me, humor me. The reason why I decided to absorb the pain and slowly process it in a calm manner was because for me, loss is one of those profound moments where it changes your entire landscape. It changes everything. It doesn't matter how close you are to the person or how detached you are. Loss impacts you in a very, very profound way. And in order for you to understand that impact and learn from it, um, diving into it with your emotions raw and spilling all over the place only makes it harder to truly understand that person's worth, that person's value in your life, and who and what they meant to you. So for me, processing it, I had to first calm my family down, which is very important. Whenever you lose anyone, whenever you lose anything, the first goal is to stabilize your environment. Because remember, what has just happened is going to shape the very ground you stand on. And in order for you to grasp anything, you have to first stabilize your environment. So my goal was to first stabilize my family, try to keep everyone calm. The second goal was to let them know that I was coming and let them know that I would be out on the next flight. And the third thing was to bring everyone together to share the most important things about my uncle and why he was valued in life and why he meant so much to everyone. And simultaneously, as this is happening, I'm also processing that loss. And how did I process it? Um, for me, particularly, I focused on the good things that he did. I focused on the value that he brought to my life, to all the people around him. And the reason why I focused on that was because that was really important. You know, you want to focus on why this person meant so much and why their value was so great that they touched so many lives, because that's what really matters. That's the true meaning of a person's life, is how do they impact you? How do they impact the world? Whether it's their own micro world with just their network or something larger. And you want to focus on that first, because that's their legacy. That's what really matters. So I focused on that. And I remembered all the good times, all the wonderful things that he had said to me, the pieces of advice that he gave me on how to shave, which I should be doing, to how to talk to girls, to um, how to be decisive, how to be honorable, how to be a man of your word. these things gave me the strength to honor the man, accept his loss, but honor the man, which was the first thing I had to do, was to honor the person. And I think that's the first step you have to definitely take is honor whoever that person is. Honor them for who they were and what they brought to you and what they brought to the world. The second step is to honor their life, their mistakes, their shortcomings, whatever their life encompassed, to honor that life and know that they honestly lived it the best they could. And you'll hear it some you'll hear some people say, oh, he was too young, or she was so beautiful, and this is a tragedy. And I don't see it that way. I see it as your life is, and this doesn't go into any sort of spiritual realm or anything, or if it does, it's um, it's entirely up to how you want to perceive it. So, uh, not trying to talk about anyone's religious beliefs, by the way. But for me personally, I see, any loss, such as a loss of a life, I see it as a moment to honor that entire timeline, and not to say that, oh, it ended too short or it ended abruptly. It ended when it was meant to end. It came to a close when was meant to. And that is something that will help you see the person in a whole new way than to think, oh, well, their life ended abruptly, or the way they passed away was too abrupt. And there are situations where, yes, absolutely, this can be excluded. Situations where a person on purpose hurts themselves, or on purpose um, loses their life. And absolutely, in those situations, the tragedy and the impact is vastly different. And I will speak to that as well in a later video on how that can affect you. But on this particular one, step one, honor the person, honor their life, honor the person that they were, who they impacted, and how they impacted them. Step two, realize that their journey was exactly what it was meant to be. They were meant to do the things they did in their life. They were meant to behave a certain way. They were meant to project a certain image, and respect that image, respect that persona that they had, because that's what led into them impacting lives, however big or however small. And step three, remember your love for them, because that's what really matters. Not the loss, it's the love. Remember your love for them, and remember how they made you feel. Whether they made you feel safe, whether they made you laugh, whether they made you content, whether they brought happiness, or or you know any of these wonderful emotions. Remember that and cherish that, because that's how they live forever in your heart, in your mind, is remembering these special nuggets of information on what they made you feel. Because at the end of the day, that's all you really have of anyone, right? Is how they made you feel, or what they made you feel. And once you're able to sort of go through these steps, you'll start to see the loss of a life as no loss truly, but a transition. This was their chapter, this was their journey, and now it's time for them to transition. And again, not stepping on anyone's religious beliefs here, not trying to project my own beliefs here, but I believe that this entire life, the whole purpose of us being here, is to have that journey, and then to transition to whatever the next journey is. And I don't know that journey, but I know that how to cope with that transitional period is that it comes down to honor, love, and cherish. These three things help you cope with the loss of someone. And it's not easy. Um, you will still remember the pain. You will still have to go through the pain. But don't hide from it. Let it wash over you. And as it washes over you, continually remember the impact this person had in your life. Continually remember the way this person made you feel. Continually remember why this person impacted you and impacted everyone around you and everyone around them. And allow those building blocks to keep your head above water, because it will. And no matter how rocky or how turbulent the waters are around you as you're going through your loss, keeping your feet on those building blocks will help you get through it. And it'll help you find the peace that was taken away from you when you lost this person, whoever this person is. That's the end of my video. I hope that my message was positive, and I hope that if you're going through this right now, I hope that what I was able to tell you and how I was able to share this information helped you. And please do let me know. And if there's any suggestions you have, again, please write them in the comments below. And I look forward to sharing more videos with you in the future. Thank you.